Hi folks, my name's Darren and I wanted to kitbash Gabriel Seth. For the base of this kitbash I wanted to use a bog standard assault intercessor. I really like the dynamic poses that they have and I really think it would lend itself very well to Gabriel Seth charging with his eviscerator chainsword. So to start off I clipped out all of the bits that I needed for the torso. That would be the front plate, the back plate and the legs. I made sure to remove any sprue tabs and clean up any of the mould lines. Whilst I'm cleaning up these parts, I just want to thank everyone for their continued support so far. It's been absolutely amazing and I've really been blown away with the response. I've been back on YouTube properly for about 3 months now and it's been an incredible experience so far. I've really enjoyed myself. I love kitbashing. I feel reinvigorated to create content. There's some things that I've got going on in the background which are going to be exciting and I'll be able to reveal them at some point, hopefully soon. But in the meantime, your continued support and liking and all that sort of stuff is just all I need at the moment, so I really appreciate that. So yeah, thank you very much. Now back to the thing you actually want to watch. Once I tidied everything up, I then glued the front part of the torso to the back part. I don't attach the legs just yet because I'm going to be doing something a little bit later on where the legs may get in the way of it, so I just did the torso bit to start off with. Once that had dried, I then come in with my brand new scalpel, not a hobby knife, scalpel. I've been using a scalpel now. It's not a new thing in the hobby or anything like that, it's just recommended by Pete the Wargamer, so I thought, hey, if our Lord and Saviour Pete the Wargamer is using it, then let's see what it's all about, eh? Using that scalpel, or your hobby knife, doesn't really matter, I carefully removed the aquila from the front of the torso. I went backwards and forwards with the knife, but I also used a sanding stick just to get the hard to reach places. This was the main reason why I left the legs off. I come in with my clippers to remove the belt buckle. The reason being I was going to put a winged embellishment on there, which you'll see a bit later on, and I wanted to make sure that it was as flush to the torso or to the waist so that it didn't look too garish, if that makes sense. The Def Company sprue is actually really good for this kitbash and I actually use a lot of pieces from it, so I really recommend picking that up if you have the chance. Even if you're not specifically going to be doing this kitbash, it's very handy for anything Blood Angels related or anything like that if you want to embellish your guys with wings and blood drops and chalices and all that sort of Blood Angel goodness. But for this instance, we're going to remove one of the backpacks as we need that winged blood drop, and this is what's going to be the basis for the belt buckle. And once again, using the clippers, I hacked away at most of the backpack, so the ports on the side, all the way from the bottom to the top where the blood drop starts and the wings are. I then removed any excess bits around the wings the best I can, ready for the next part, which was sanding. It took a long time, I'll tell you that. I mean, I shaved as much as I could from it first, but most of the time I was sanding. I used some quite high grit sandpaper just to get it down as quickly as I could, then to a lower grit to smoothen it up. Once I'd sanded it down as far as I could before it turned to dust, I then went back in with my clippers and my hobby knife just to tidy up any loose edges. After making some comparisons, I wasn't quite happy with the way that the new belt buckle was sitting on the belt, so what I did is I came back in with my clippers and my knife and cut down the original belt buckle some more, so the new one would fit more flushly. Once I was happy with it, I then glued the belt buckle into place. What other Space Marine character would you like to see me kitbash? Let me know in the comments below. Next up, I dipped into the Black Templar Primaris Crusader squad kit and grabbed the arms of the sword brother. I removed both pieces from the sprue and tidied up any mould lines. I also removed the almost like studding from the arm. I kind of regret doing that now. I think it probably would have suited Gabriel Seth a bit more, but hey ho, it is what it is. You just have to live with those choices. I then went back and decided to stick the legs on as I wasn't concerned of anything getting in the way going forward. I often use a little bit of blue tack every now and again just to dry fit the pieces together so I know what I'm working with. And that's what I do here. I attach the arms by some blue tack just to see if they work and they fit on the model well. Do you remember back in my Pedro Cantor video when I said I'm going to be using this big chainsword at some point for a kitbash or conversion? No? You don't remember? Well, check out the video up there, but if you do remember, this is that kitbash. It's time to use that massive chainsword as Gabriel Seth's eviscerator. I think I would have preferred maybe if I'd used the Novitiate's Penitent's eviscerator instead. There's a little bit more meat to it, more teeth and stuff like that, but I'm happy with how it ended up, so we're just going to go with it. However, what I didn't want to do is use the shackle that was on the arm of the sword brother, as it didn't quite fit in with FLEASHTEARERS. It was definitely more of a Black Templar thing. So what I did is I took my hobby saw and cut where the elbow joint was and removed that part from the arm. I then made some small controlled cuts, removing more and more from the arm, making sure to constantly compare against the arm that was holding the chainsword. Once I was happy with that, I then moved on to the arm holding the chainsword and did a similar thing with it, kind of taking small sections away and constantly comparing them to make sure that when I put them together they actually look like an arm rather than two bits of plastic stuck together really awkwardly. Then once again I took my blue tack and stuck the two pieces together and stuck the completed arm onto the torso. This was mainly to make sure that the piece looked like it fit in, it wasn't odd looking, and put it into positions which I thought would be best suited for the model at the end. I then went back to the Crusader kit and removed the cape of the sword brother. This piece is perfect, and I mean perfect for this kitbash. I did choose the Assault Intercessor body specifically as where the legs were positioned because I knew I was going to be using this cape, but my word, does it fit amazingly. Once I removed it from the sprue, I removed any sprue tabs and cleaned up any mould lines. I then removed a Blade Guard Veteran backpack from the sprue. In this instance I used the Blade Guard Veteran Lieutenant from the Imperium magazine, but you can use any Blade Guard Veteran as they all have a similar backpack anyway. All we need it for really is the built-in iron halo, which is perfect for this kitbash. The only issue I had with this one is it had a peg, so that had to be removed, but that wasn't too difficult. I just used my clippers to dig in there and get it out enough so that I could fit it flushly against the back of the model. I then got that glorious cloak and stuck it to the model. I need to calm down on the cloak thing. A bit too obsessed with the cloak thing. And then once I'd done that, I glued the backpack to the model. And once again, to make sure the positioning was correct, I stuck the arms onto the torso using some blue tack. Going back to the Death Company kit, I removed these cool little angel wings. These are the main reason why I bought this kit, as I knew I wanted these parts specifically. However, I was really happy the fact that I can actually use a lot of other parts in here for this kitbash. So whilst I initially bought it for two things, I managed to use other things. And the other wonderful thing about these angel wings is that I didn't actually have to do any adjusting with them. All I had to do is literally stick them straight to the vents on the shoulder pad. Yeah, I needed to prod them and poke them around just to make sure they looked natural, well, as natural as a pair of wings on a 8-foot genetically modified human can be. They fit perfectly. I then dipped back into the Death Company sprue and removed the angel shoulder pad that I was going to be using on the right hand side of Gabriel Seth. Once removed, I cleaned up any sprue tabs and just smoothed the edges down with my knife. It was at this point I realised that I didn't want the half aquila on the eviscerator blade, so what I did is I got my knife, trimmed it down as best I could and smoothed it down with a combination of scraping away the plastic and using a sanding stick to file it down. I then got back to gluing the right hand shoulder pad to the arm. What do you all think so far? Let me know in the comments below, I'd love to know. This next part is probably the most difficult bit that I had to do in the Kitbash. I went back to the Death Company sprue and removed this shoulder pad. I did that for two reasons. One, because I wanted the wings, and two, because I wanted the small chalice. So I had two birds with one stone in this situation. However, I did put myself in a tough situation where I had to try and remove these wings without one, messing them up, and two, so they actually looked good. It was a bit strange that I had to remove the wings in order to stick them back onto a different shoulder pad, but you'll see why as I do it. Using my clippers, I snipped away as much as I could before I got my hobby saw out and cut it straight down the middle where the blood drop is. This allowed me to gain access to the rest of the shoulder pad and clip away any excess bits that I needed to remove. And then with a combination of my knife and my clippers and sandpaper, I filed it down as much as I could so it sit relatively flush against either side of the shoulder pad. During this whole process, I made sure to make frequent comparisons against the shoulder pad to make sure I was heading in the right direction. As this footage runs through, I just wanted to go through with you a few regrets that I had with this Kitbash at this point. I opted against getting some sort of 3D printed buzzsaw symbol for FLEASHTEARERS to put on the chest of the model. I wanted to freehand it. I regret doing that. I really wish I'd got something to stick on. The same thing goes for this shoulder pad that I'm doing now. On the original model, there's small little buzzsaws on the end of those wings. I didn't do that, and whilst it doesn't look bad, I really wish I'd just taken it that step further and got those pieces. Now, they weren't readily available to find anywhere. You could probably find them, like I said, 3D printed, but I just didn't have the time to get hold of them. Just thought I'd share that with you, as it doesn't always go the way you want. Ultimately, I'm happy with the end result, but I wish I'd done those small bits, probably just to make it that much better, in my opinion. I took that chalice that I removed from the shoulder pad earlier on and glued it straight on to the left shin pad of the model. It fit perfectly. The last major bit I needed for this Kitbash was a head, so I got the Screaming Space Marine one from the Primaris Intercessor kit. It was pretty much Gabriel Seth all over. Screaming, shouting, bald, what a combination. So I removed that from the sprue and tidied it up. And for some final flourishes, I stuck on a couple of purity seals, one on his right shin pad and one on the eviscerator blade. I did construct my own base, as you can see there, using some old terrain pieces, but I forgot to record it because I'm a pro YouTuber. If you'd like to see how I construct my bases, let me know in the comments below and I'll make sure I record them next time. Once I'd finished the base, stuck the model to it and finished painting, I was left with this. I'm really happy with how this model turned out. It does definitely give a vibe of Gabriel Seth, and if you were to play this on the table as is, I am quite confident that people will know who it is. Once again, a massive thank you to everyone who watched this video and all my other videos. I really appreciate it, and it helps me immensely. If you'd like to support what I do, then make sure to like the video, subscribe and share it with some friends who you think might enjoy it. But thank you once again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.